Welcome to Eventful Endeavors, secrets to crafting the perfect celebration. If you're planning an event and looking for useful tips from industry experts, you're in the right place. So get ready to take some notes and we'll dive right in. This is Eventful Endeavors.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Eventful Endeavors. We are here today. We're going back to California. We're talking wedding planning. We have a wedding planner here. We're with Tatiana Czerwiak from Vine and Branch Wedding Company. Hello, Tatiana. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Shawn?
I'm doing well. No complaints. So we're going to start off the same way I kind of start off with everybody, which is asking kind of how you got into this. How did you get into the event planning world? Just tell us your story.
Yeah, pretty funny, actually. I've been in the industry for almost 13 years now, so a little bit of a veteran. But I did start off initially wanting to go to law school, so it's a funny little transition. We did a whole 180. I've always just been creative and have loved events and kind of wanted to do my own thing. So it was this really funny transition when I got out of college into events. I was fortunate enough to intern for someone out in Huntington Beach and then kind of became her right-hand girl for a while and did that, and then opened up my first planning company with a business partner. We were together for 7 years, and then Vine and Branch is now my second. So loved it enough, obviously, to stick around. But yeah, we've expanded and are located in California, but now kind of work all over. So all over the state, all over the country, and in Mexico and Italy now too. So we're excited.
Oh, well, let's go there, because I've talked to a lot of wedding planners, but most of the time they say like, no, I stay local. I don't do destination stuff as much.
Yeah,
So talk to me about the
destination.
destination thing. Well, yeah, I mean, you don't have to twist my arm to go to Italy, but talk to me about that. How did that come about? Like, what do you do over there? How many do you do? I mean, talk to me about the international wedding scene.
Yeah, we just wrapped one up in Cabo in December. So we were there at a really cool resort, and our client, so random, we met her on Instagram a year ago, and she was debating between San Diego and Mexico, and it just financially made more sense to go to Mexico, and we made it like a whole trip for her guests, and so they loved it.
Sure.
And fun fact, I speak fluent Spanish, so like that was an easy kind of one. I know. So that was fun. But so easy. Everyone out there has been nothing but lovely and wonderful to work with. So if anyone's thinking of getting married in Cabo, like do it. And then Italy was just another random thing. The client actually lives in Maryland, and they were looking at something on the West Coast, potentially East Coast. How Italy came up, we don't know, but that's our second one out in the same kind of area of Ravello, so like near the Amalfi Coast. So we've experienced there now too. I've been there just for leisure in the past, so it just was like an easy segue. It has been wonderful planning there too. Obviously, has its own challenges, being like very different from the US. But yeah, the vendors essentially work the same. Stuff is a little different because you're having to deal with not being able to just like drive in and out of places, and timing is very different, and the towns are tiny, and everything is a lot more laissez-faire, but it's been really, really fun.
Yeah, I was going to ask, because I was curious. I was like, so do you, with vendors over there, like do you have, well, now you've done it, so you probably have some people you use, and you already like, as a wedding planner in California, I imagine you have a lot of vendors you work with all the time.
Yeah.
You use a lot. So if you're planning a wedding in Italy, is it not that way? Do you kind of have to go from scratch and like find your people, or talk to other planners that have maybe done weddings there?
Yeah.
How does that work?
It's definitely like a 50-50, right? Because you're not obviously going to bring in everybody from the US. Like that would just be astronomical in travel costs.
Sure.
And another thing is I love sourcing vendors from that country or state or wherever. I mean, like obviously these people are wonderful. They're professional. They're incredible at what they do, and they live there. Like you might as well source out to folks in the area. So that's my goal first and foremost. Like, let me find someone who is there, right? Like can fit the vision and the vibe of what our client wants. Like, let's reach out to them first and foremost. I would say for vendors like hair and makeup, rentals, things like that, it's pretty much always going to be local to where we're, planning the wedding. Right. Photography, videography, planning, some of those can come from everywhere. But in Italy, like I would say like 75% is local. And then there's like some random things we're bringing in. For Mexico, almost everything was local. like I
Right.
said, there's so many incredible vendors out there. So we curate custom preferred vendors lists for every client. So we'll put together like a list of people who we think they'd love and we go from there. But yeah, definitely try to stay as local as we can.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. We can get away from international weddings because I could talk about like travel and
I know we can talk
vacationing.
about travel all day long.
I'm 10 days out from going to Australia for 3 weeks and I could not be more
Get
excited.
out! That's
Yeah.
so fun.
Yeah,
Congrats.
me and my wife are big travelers and she speaks Spanish too. So it always helps with that kind
Look
of
at
stuff.
that.
So let me ask that because I am curious, like, did you learn Spanish like yourself? Were you taught it from a young age? Do you have like
Yeah.
any kind of like, heritage that it came from or where does that, what was that? Did you study it?
Yeah. No, I was born in Argentina and I moved here when I was
Cool.
2. So Spanish was my first language, still speak it at home and yeah, grew up learning that. I was basically raised in California. I mean, 2 years old, we've gone back every now and then, but never moved back. But that's where that comes from. So yeah, I grew up speaking it and then just like retained it. And it's been fun because a lot of people don't know that. So it's just like a fun little tidbit, but that's where the Spanish comes in.
What an awesome skill. I'm doing my Duolingo. It just takes forever.
Duolingo's great. I've been doing it with Italian.
Yeah. My wife speaks fluent Spanish. She's half Mexican and we try to talk sometimes in Spanish. It's just hard. It's so hard to learn it as an adult. So I wish I had that thing. But
you're good though. At least you're trying.
I am. I'm trying. We go to Mexico quite a bit, so I'll practice next time.
Fun.
But anyway, so let's talk just general weddings. So I always like to ask, what's your first piece of advice for newlywed couples? Like, what is your this is what I would recommend you do right away, or what you should never do, or whatever it might be. Biggest piece of advice right out the gate.
Yeah, I think it's super hard for people to even know where to start, right? Like, obviously, weddings are obviously, it's a whole industry. Like, it's a whole new thing. For most people, I always joke, like, is this your first time getting married? Like, sometimes that joke is funny, sometimes it's not, but they're having to learn this whole new thing. And so it's like, where do you begin? And so my very first piece of advice, as like cheesy as it sounds, it's like, just like hang out and be engaged for a little bit. Like, I understand the pressure to like, gotta find a venue, gotta book vendors, gotta get on TikTok and Pinterest and and all of this, but it's so much noise at once. And it's like, you will never be engaged and have that moment back, right? It's like, once you get into planning, like that's what you're doing for a year plus. And so take a breath, like hang out and kind of just like start to dodge questions and let people know, like, we want to just be engaged for a little bit. And then obviously, first and foremost, you can't really move forward with anything until you find a place, right? A place and a date. And so I always tell couples, like, sit down with your partner, like make a list of your top 3, like the top 3 most important things to you for your wedding day, whether that's like food, music, alcohol, whether that's flour, whatever it is, like make a list of your top 3 and that'll kind of help guide your order of things, right? So after you have decided on venue and date, if you don't hire a planner and you're kind of going the DIY route, like know that those top 3 things are what you want to book first. Obviously, like book a planner so they can guide you through this process and tell you what to book, when to book, and who, if you want to get that stress off your shoulders. But yeah, enjoy the engagement season for a little bit. And then look at what's most important to you, not necessarily what's online or like what's on TikTok. Like really, like make a list of the stuff that you want to remember on that day. And most of the time, I would say people's top 3 are like food, alcohol, music, and some sort of like design that's really personal to them. So focus on those guys.
Right. Yeah. And that's funny. I've heard a lot of other people say that same thing recently, where it's like, just enjoy it. It is something we underestimate.
I know it's hard.
Yeah. You get excited. You're like, I want to know where I'm
going to
get married. I want to do it.
And and everyone starts asking like, well, like, when is it? What's happening? And it's like, there is a pressure, right? Especially with venues and things getting booked out so quickly, but just kind of like, just enjoy for a little bit.
Sure. I want to sidetrack a little bit because this is something I also haven't talked to too many people about, but you mentioned earlier how the Bride Mexico found you on Instagram, and you just mentioned like TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff. And obviously, I'm notoriously not very good at social media. I want to be better. But is that something you find, you're using a lot, either to like brides are finding you on TikTok or Instagram, or they are, or they're getting ideas and coming to you based on stuff they saw on those platforms? Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
a little bit of both. I'm not on TikTok either. I'm like still that
sure.
like geriatric millennial that's like,
Me
no,
neither. Yeah.
like
I gotta
holding
make a
straws.
movie.
I'm like, I don't
I gotta
know.
make a
I
full
don't
movie.
know. I know. And I understand. I think
Or
it's
a time.
great for content inspiration. I think just like with Instagram, so much of it is curated and taken out of context. And it's hard for people to separate the reality of like what something actually costs versus
Sure.
like what you're seeing. And so that's like the not so fun part of my job where I have to come in and be like, that's great, that's beautiful, but this is actually what it is, et
Right.
cetera. So I do think that a lot of inspo is coming from, I would say at least for my clients, and I'll only speak to that, is Pinterest is a huge one still, right? A lot of people
Yeah.
are seeing visual things that they like. TikTok is huge. I would say for like some of our younger couples, it's still like a big source of inspiration. They see a lot of like fun little things they can incorporate into their day. More so than like decor and things like that. So like I think TikTok and anything like video related, yeah, is definitely good for like, oh, I didn't think of like doing that dance, or like I didn't think of incorporating XYZ into like a toast.
Right.
Design, I would say a lot of it is Instagram, a lot of it is Pinterest. But we do get, it's interesting that you mentioned that too, because now that I think about it, we do get so many clients from our Instagram, on top of like just venue referrals and things like that. A lot of it is still like that visual platform.
So speaking of that kind of stuff, like things you've seen, like talk to me about, like, so you've been doing this for a while. Like talk to me about some trends you've seen, like things that used to happen a lot and now don't happen a
Yeah.
lot, or maybe used to never happen and now happen all the time. Like anything you can think of that you're noticing a lot more of or less of.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that because when I first started, I would say like it was a no-brainer that bouquet tosses, garter tosses, like huge grand entrance songs, all of that was like of course like we're doing that. That wasn't even a question. And as the years have gone on, I would definitely say that like a bouquet toss, a garter toss, they've all dropped off of our timelines. Like people are shying away from
Yeah.
that. Cake cutting has become a lot more of a small thing, right? I think in eons
Right.
past, like the cake was such a huge deal. Couples are realizing like we actually hate cake, like, and we don't want to do this. Let's do something different. Let's like have an alternative dessert or not do something at all, or do like shots and donuts. I don't know. I mean, it's become a lot more personal. And I think a lot of couples nowadays are realizing like they don't have to subscribe to like the weddings of old of like, well, we have to do XYZ or we have to do a dance in this order or do this or do that. They're realizing like we want to be a lot more personal on our big day, and either incorporate that or not. But we are seeing a lot of those like those little events kind of get taken out. Yeah, seeing a lot more of just like personal details be brought into whether that's, you know, the menu, like maybe it's the couple's favorite cuisine that they're choosing instead of just like chicken and fish. They're bringing in like Thai, or they're bringing in
Sure.
like a Mexican, you know, handmade tortilla buffet, whatever. It's like that's getting a lot more
Yeah.
personal. Music is getting a ton more personal. Playlists are more curated, right? It's more of like an experiential thing. Like you have
Yeah.
pianos or you've got like musicians. It's just a lot more of an experience, I think, for guests. So we're seeing a lot more of that. Out with the old, in with the personal.
I love it. I think weddings are getting more fun. I'm like looking forward to
Yeah.
going to them. I used to sometimes be like, oh, I got 8 weddings this year I got to go to. Like plans
Yeah.
is one thing, but when my friends get married, I'm like, man, I got a lot of weddings. Now I'm like, oh, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So speaking of things like that, you know, new things people are doing. What's the most unique thing you've ever seen at a wedding? First thing that pops to your mind, like something really cool.
I mean, for the most part, like it's still pretty traditional, but I have definitely had people, I had a wedding in the past where guests thought they were showing up to just like a fancy like dinner party, and it turned out to be like a whole wedding. And it was like
Nice.
everything was backwards. It was like they started with cake, we like started with dancing, ended with drinks. Like it was just like so all over, but in the best way possible. So everyone shows up to this like restaurant, and all of a sudden we like pull back the curtains, the wedding. So that was a really just like fun surprise. We've seen couples do like really cool interactive dinner experiences to where it's not just like servers coming and like dropping food off, it's like food stations, or there's like a flaming something, or there's, like somebody carving something and walking around. So that's become like something that guests remember. I would say, yeah, a lot of the unique things have to do with like the order of stuff, because everyone's expecting kind of what you mentioned, right? Like you have cocktail hour, then you've got like toasts, then you have your salad, then you have whatever. So when we switch that around, it's been really fun.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never seen something like that before, but they reverse it.
Just throws everybody off.
Yeah, surprise. Now my favorite question is the opposite of that. What's the cringiest thing you've ever seen? What's the thing?
No names.
God. No names. I just want to know.
One that always comes to mind. Yeah, one that always comes to mind. There's two. When there was a grand entrance at a wedding, and this actually personally happened to me too when I was a maid of honor at a wedding. So it's like seared into my memory. The bride had no idea that the DJ at that time was going to do like a roast of the bridal party walking in, instead of like just announcing the bridal party. It was like, here's John and, Rebecca and XYZ about them, but it wasn't funny. It was like really out of pocket, just out of pocket. Bride had no clue. Bridal party had no clue. None of the guests laughed. And I just remember standing in the corner like, this can't be like, this isn't happening. Like, and everyone's just walking out, not knowing what to do. So please don't do that. Like PSA to people. Like nobody wants to be roasted on your wedding day. So cringy. So cringy.
Did the groom?
No one knew. It was like they had asked the DJ to like, or the DJ had asked them to like give them some fun facts about each person, and they just kind of like went wild with it. So that was that. Then there was like a poor best man didn't prepare correctly, and had a couple too many lemon drops and just like bombed the speech, and no one clapped, and he had to be escorted out.
Oh, that's
yeah.
That's not
that
good.
was a fun. So yeah, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just,
get a lot of weird
sometimes
ones from speeches.
It's like things you can't control, and so you're just kind of like, well, let's recover and move on. But I've been lucky enough, like knock on wood, to where clients have been pretty chill. Like there hasn't been anything super, super out of whack. I would say like way back in the day, like 2011, when I first started, there was some more of those like, I don't know about this. But nowadays people, I think, are a little bit more self-aware.
And we've also seen enough to kind of try to avoid things and cut it off at the head before it starts.
I think I lost you again.
So like, what's your number one piece of advice of like, don't do this? Like I'm going to avoid the cringy situation. Don't do this.
Yeah. I think if there's any sort of gut feeling of like, should I, it's probably going to be a no, right? Like if it's putting somebody on blast or putting somebody on the spot, or like having somebody like have to like pull something out of thin air, like don't do it. Like just we would try to avoid any like unforeseens, right, the day of. And so by leaving a lot of stuff up to chance, you're just kind of like, you're playing with fire there, right? Like, oh no, that's fine. Like my dad, I don't have to tell him he's giving a speech. We'll just like, well, he can just wing it, or like, we'll wing this, whatever. We'll just, no, like, don't do that. So yeah, just gently steering away from anything that can be an unknown or has the potential to like backfire, or we're just going to let everybody sit wherever they want. No, that's not a thing.
Right. And please plan your speeches. Like, that's my biggest thing. If somebody has to MC that, like, don't do it.
I was just going to say, you probably are like, oh God.
Yeah, I was saying I had a 25-minute Father of the Bride speech once.
You're kidding.
No. 25 minutes. I clocked it after a while. I was like, I need to know what time it is because this is insane.
But it's like, and you can't cut that off, So it's like, well, put the salads back.
Yeah, exactly. I actually went into the kitchen. I was like, let's get the food out because they were going to wait. And I was like, no, these people are going to throw them. Yeah. There's going to be a mutiny in here. Anyway, so yeah. So let's go back to you. So let's talk a little bit more about your company and what you do, like what sets you guys apart. Like, tell us a little bit more about that. Like, what makes you guys unique? Why do people go for you?
I would say the constant feedback that we have received, which is great because it definitely like aligns with our mission and what we want to be remembered for. Apart from right? Just having so many years of experience with so many different types of weddings and locations and things like that. We really, really try to be as intentional in our design above a lot of other things. And so I always like to say anybody can kind of put on a pretty wedding. Like that's not that difficult. But what is really going to be remembered is what made that wedding so special, not just to the couple, but to your guest experience. And so we really take the time to get to know our clients behind the scenes. So what they love, like the things that they love doing, or what's important to them, or what their dog's name is, what drink they order when they go out, their favorite colors, like little things like that. We have a whole quiz, like questionnaire that we have clients fill out that really like has us kind of take a peek inside their lives. And we like to bring those really small details that they might think are just like minute or insignificant into the entire wedding day design. And so from the moment that somebody walks into their ceremony till like the last song and the last drink, like there's something that's so uniquely that couple reflected in every little thing. And so again, it's not just like, oh, well, that linen is pretty, or like these flowers are just pretty. It's like, oh, well, no, that is like her grandma's favorite flower that we put in, or like that's their favorite, like cocktail that they got on their first date, or that wall is like a nod to where they got engaged, something. And there's always some intentionality behind the design. And so I really love running my business that way. And I think it really allows our team to connect with our clients on a deeper level. And it just makes the day not only so much more special for them, but it also is fun for, moms and dads and friends to be like, oh my gosh, like I also resonate with that because I like know their story, or there's just pieces that everybody can connect to. So yeah, I would say honing in on that as like kind of our differentiating factor has been fun. And we have been lucky enough to attract people that trust us with that design, which is huge. So that's how we like to position ourselves too.
Yeah, it's a relationship thing with vendors, man. I mean, you form a bond with these people. I'm still friends with some of the brides,
Yeah.
So it's
Same.
kind of and grooms. I mean, everybody, like I still Instagram will message each other like, oh my God, remember this?
Yeah.
That was so fun.
Yeah. It's all about relationships and just making people feel like special and heard.
Yes. Are you mostly just doing like full planning? Do you do like any like smaller options? Do you do small weddings, big weddings? Like tell me a little bit more about like just logistically your specialty.
We do all size weddings. So we've been realizing obviously like pre-pandemic weddings were huge, right? Post-pandemic in the middle, everything got really tiny. Or like during pandemic, post-pandemic, they blew up again. Now we're seeing them come back down. So there's always a fluctuation with number. We do it all. So from 10 people, 20 people, 40 people weddings to 200, that will run the gamut. We have no problem kind of managing that. And it runs the same. Essentially, it's not necessarily that a higher guest count is more work. It's just run a little differently. But in terms of planning, yes, we pretty much do full service. And then if the client is like, no, I can handle like budget or things like that. They don't need us like physically putting in orders for them or mailing out invites or more of that hand holding. Then we'll do just the full logistical planning and then custom design, but not the full service. So those are kind of the two camps that people fall into. Like I can do some of it, but need guidance on everything else, or please like take this and let me be the like, yes, no, kind of decision maker, right, on stuff.
How many do you tackle a year? Are you doing weddings pretty much every weekend, or is it sporadic?
No,
do you limit yourself because you don't want to go crazy?
Yeah, we like to keep it boutique. I think I found the sweet spot, right, where it's like enough to successfully run a business, but not be like so overwhelmed that you aren't performing well. And I also would never want clients to feel like we're so bogged down with other weddings that we're not giving them like that attention that, they deserve. And so we cap at around 20 to 25, just depending on the year, and depending on the scope. So obviously years that we've had like more full service plannings, we take less just because it's a lot more involved. Years where there's less full planning, but more just like that middle kind of ground, we'll take a little bit more. So I would say like 25 is our sweet spot. And then I just staff girls depending on like size and scope of wedding. And so our team just kind of like rotates through. But yeah, I do definitely for mental health and for just like the quality of the product that these people are getting, like couples are getting.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So let me, before we wrap everything up, is there
Yeah.
anything else you kind of want to mention? Anything else? Any other pieces of advice? Anything that like you just want to, kind of put out there?
Yeah, I think end of the day, like trends are fun and we all, whether it's wedding or not, right? We all are like subject to following and liking and not liking and being exposed to like what's the trend for 2024, what's the ins, like what's the outs. And while that is fun and some of it does ring true, I think lately what I have been telling couples and brides and grooms feeling very overwhelmed with the planning process is like, end of day, it's not about the ins, it's not about the outs. Like it is about the two of you. The most important thing is you're getting married. Like that's it. Everything
Yes.
else is extra, right? And so if something is on an out list that you love, like screw the list. Like this is about the two of you. And it's not about incorporating things that like an Instagram account says you should do. It's personal. It's, what you want reflected. It's what you want to remember. It's something classic and timeless. Like do you. And so don't get overwhelmed with trying to figure out what's trendy and what's not. And is this cool? Like, do what you want to do. Get a good planner that'll help guide you through that process and let you know if something's cringy, right? Or like connect you with great vendors like yourself and just help you along with that. But yeah, really just at the end of the day, remember like it's not about necessarily having to please like what's cool and what's not.
Right.
Keeping it real.
Yeah. The best compliment I got after my wedding was my buddy was just like, that wedding was very you guys. Like,
exactly. And that's what you want to hear,
was,
right?
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah, you don't want to feel like a fraud. You're
no. I was like, yeah, it was us. There was lots of music. There was animals. There was tons of beer. There was,
I love that.
I got iced. The whole thing was pretty crazy. So,
Ow. Did you
yeah.
guys have like one of those beer donkeys?
We did. We had the beer burro.
No, you didn't.
I never knew I wanted something so badly until I had that. So
you said animals, and that's where my brain went.
But yeah, listen, Tatiana, thank you for doing this. Thank you for chatting with me.
Of course.
And we'll link to all your social stuff, your social media, your stuff, so everybody will know how to find you. Should they be looking for a wedding planner anywhere in the world? I mean, you'll go. So thank you. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Shawn.
And we'll talk soon. All right.
Perfect. Bye. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Eventful Endeavors, Secrets to Crafting the Perfect Celebration. We hope to have left you with some actionable ideas for your own event. If you like the show, please subscribe and definitely leave us a review. We read every comment. So until next time, happy planning and see you soon on Eventful Endeavors.